Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, let's talk about success in general. Now, success really isn't a mystery. It isn't a mystery how to create success in your life, what it's about, etc. It's just that nobody tells you this. Life is a big con. Those that have it want to keep it, and they want to bring people in that are structured to assist them in life, meaning they want the clonish people, the guys that get A's, the guys that work for the football team and abuse people. They want control type people. They want ex-military who will kill for them. This is what happens. Military goes into the police, into federal agencies. This is how it all works. So, learning how to be successful is very critical for people out of the loop. Now, also, you're guaranteed success if you go to certain companies, certain schools, etc. If you go to Stanford University Business School or in general, well, you're guaranteed a well-paying job. It costs a fortune to go there, so you can't get in there unless they can manipulate you, meaning you've learned to be controlled and brainwashed through the school system and have all these, quote, qualifications to show that you're part of the control society. They're not looking for revolutionaries. They're not looking for new thinkers, which is why nothing really ever changes in dumbademia. The bottom line is that they're just reinforcing the old belief systems. That's why sciences went nowhere, etc. So it's not complicated. And what it takes to be successful isn't complicated. We know it all. I know it all. I've spent 50 years researching this. It's all there. I've done it myself coming from absolutely nothing. Not only nothing, but I've actually had humongous forces trying to stop me, and they never have been able to. Whether that's evil family members and society who has attacked myself and this organization physically for years. I've had since childhood gangs chasing me in basically middle-class white neighborhoods, 50, 60 people in the neighborhood trying to kill me because I was the light of decency. And they were the evil scum, and I intimidated them and would not back down. So I've achieved it, and people have to understand, well, what can you achieve? Well, you have to also cast away the fraudulent understanding that they want to really bring you up on this high pedestal and then knock you off of, that you can become anything. This was the American lie, that you can become president, etc. But nobody who's achieved anything great in life generally came from nothing. Now, they like to push these few thousand people in the hundreds of years of civilization and push them in front of you like there's something there. But I can tell you from day one that all these people had ins. They all had connections. They all had things going on, regardless of their so-called backgrounds that appeared to be so kind of basic. But that's not true at all. Very few people come from nothing and are something. And if they do, they all have really horrible skeletons in their closets. They don't have skeletons. They have entire graveyards in their closets. So it's just not true anymore. You show me anybody that's made it, and I'll show you someone who has been sponsored to make it. So, that's the big con. So what do you do when you're not part of that? Well, a lot of people say, well, okay, you're the big shot. Why aren't you super rich? Why aren't you that? Why am I still alive should be the question here. I've done amazing, and I've done amazingly well through all sorts of adversarial positions and have always done well. I bought my first house in Southern California at 24. I bought my first business at 26. And I have always excelled past that. And I've done amazingly well considering all sorts of problems, taking care of sick family members, not being very well myself, being highly dyslexic. So I am really one of those miracle stories, and it all boils down to empowering myself and, of course, being smart as well. But it comes down to my major success started when I started to empower myself, when I started to getting into metaphysics and so forth. And I've been doing that since a very young age. I started off with positive thinking and all those things that I think a lot of people go through. Og Mandino, his books of this, Program Yourself, all this is good. Affirmations. But, this is really kindergarten nonsense, which really doesn't work that well. But, of course, it pushes you in the correct direction. I went to many real estate seminars, business seminars, etc., and they all were frauds. Back then, now they have them on the net and on YouTube, but you used to go and spend $800 to $1,500 and go to a weekend where they would just inundate you for 16 hours of one speaker after the other. And how can you remember any of that? You don't. And then they wouldn't give you any books because that would be telling their system. So you had nothing and you kept notes. And, I was very young at the time and I sat next to some older people who knew what were going on. I wouldn't believe them because I was that positive thinker. Well, they were 100% right. This is a con. As simple as that. You just threw away $1,200, yet it did move me ahead in thinking of that, hey, well, this is business, how to get into business, how to do that, etc. Because that's all I was interested in. I had different opportunities. I excelled well at college. I was offered to go into a stockbrokering. I tutored business in Santa Barbara at the college there, and other things that I did. But that doesn't mean anything in the bigger picture. I wasn't interested in working for a corporation. I wanted to do my own business, and then basically what these ignoramus teachers told me is there's no way to get money to do anything. Basically, so you got to get educated, you got to work for somebody else, and maybe somebody will throw you their quarters if you dance pretty and flash your buttocks. So basically, that's what they said. So I said, well, there's got to be other ways of doing that, and that's where learning how to raise money, finances, and getting into certain businesses. Now, in the 80s and 90s, the world was quite different. Now you can go online and there is a potential at a fairly low cost of making a lot of money if you understand the principles of business in general. But here again, it's illusionary because what they teach you is not the real world. But that's another thing. You want to learn real world business and everything else, what you come to Radionic Tech, and of course get your all access membership. And there's a business school there which kind of pushes you forward, and I can also assist you in general information. All of it is there. We'd like to be able to spend more time there, but we just don't have the support. So we need your support on Patreon. You should like this video. You should subscribe if you haven't. That's the game here. And every penny that we take in goes to a proper development process. We're not researching. I know what has to be done. We're developing it. And those that support this organization will be the first ones to get the benefit of it. And it's not costly. And if we get enough people, it's actually downright cheap. So the whole idea is, what does success mean? So there is a particular trajectory for success, and it's very classical. Now, people that go to Stanford Business School, 99% of them don't ever graduate. They get a good idea, they're connected to financiers, what to do, and they are made wealthy because they got into Stanford, and that's the business school process. You go there, you learn that, you don't bother to graduate, you go out into the business world and make money. And if you look at the big success, Bill Gates never graduated Harvard, by the way. He's a high school graduate. So did Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, I don't know if he even graduated high school. I think he did, but he has no college education at all. He went to India and took mushrooms. So this is typical. You're not really talking about that many highly educated people, even though there are there. Bezos did graduate an Ivy League or top college, whatever. But he was in a very wealthy family and used his family's and his personal wealth to create Amazon, which was several $1 million. And then he used his skills in financing, and then had the stock market finance him, which basically was a terrible losing business. And, he lost $6 billion. So the whole idea is we need to understand that came from stockholders and stuff he did, and that was all the game you play. And that's the other game. If you really are a business person, and you really have to think like that, you have to not go into business. You go into finance. Well, what is the finance? Stock market. Where's the money? Research where the money is going, and that's how you make money. Now, having knowledge, having skill, having everything else is not enough. You've got to understand how to create a magnetic energy field around you, a strong, subtle energy field that attracts to you success or anything else you want. People who are trying to meet people or trying to even attract wisdom, attract skills. Well, you have to create an energy field to draw this to you. It's not complicated. Now, most people are able if they're kind of normal. And one of the problems is what is that? I meet a lot of people. They're interesting to a certain degree, but they just don't get it. They just don't understand how things work. They seem to be outside of what common society is. And there are certain common society things. They don't seem to know how to function. They're kind of odd and weird. And I always wonder, well, how did you even get this far in society? I mean, you don't get anything. You're very much outside of what is considered classical low middle class to middle class understanding of how you operate, how you talk, how you look, all the things that go with that. So it's amazing how people get anywhere. And of course, you're not thinking properly. You're thinking how you've been conditioned. Even people I know for many years, they don't get it. The Gnostic stuff, they don't understand how to look at things. People are now just a prime example of is the recent war in the Ukraine. Well, bottom line, people are thinking exactly what the news media wants you to think. Well, that's a highly corrupt country, and Zelensky is nothing but a little criminal. And he's now destroying the world. He's going to cause people to starve. He's going to cost the world trillions of dollars. He's nothing more than a gangster. Oh, it's terrible to shade them poor people. The Ukraine is part of the Soviet Union and Russia and has been historically. It's nonsense. But we're going to do what? Destroy the world? We're going to go to Ukraine for those scumbuckets who killed 1.5 million Jews in World War II and 200,000 Ukrainians work with the Nazis? Oh, yeah, I can't wait to protect them. Let's go. So the whole idea is that's what you think. But you haven't gotten the Gnosis, have you? Well, you're never going to be successful, are you? Other people contacted me recently and talked about the Bob Saget thing. Oh, yeah, he was in a fight. This is a guy I've known for 30 years. He don't get it. He's so far away from Gnosis that it isn't even funny. You're believing nonsense because, yeah, Roger told me, he's a guy, a waiter at the hotel. What are you talking about? Nonsense. Oh, he's in a fight or he's in a fight and he goes to bed? This guy's super wealthy and there's no police call, there's no anything else. He allows himself to be beat up and then ignores it. And then people ignore the fact. First of all, it's a 5-star hotel, by the way, people, and there's all sorts of things you can fall and hit your head on. I've stayed at all sorts of Carlton Ritz and everything else that this is. What are you talking about? So people are just spouting garbage, and they're never going to get anywhere. So the whole idea is you have to figure out, well, where do you fit in? So and the other thing is you can't manifest things that you're not. Oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Well, okay, that's great. Are you going to school? Well, no, I want to magically make me a doctor. What do you mean make you a doctor? You want us to implant the information from 6 years of college into you so that you can now become a doctor. Now, this is a skill you have to learn. You have to have a whole bunch of information. You just can't show up and say, I want to be a doctor. Same thing with law. And regardless of how scum-sucking all these professions are and how poorly put together they do have a large amount of information tied to it that you have to know. So you can't make somebody there. Now, once you do, if you want to become a doctor or a lawyer or get into law school or medical schools, you empower yourself to do that. But it means you have to have prerequisites, you have to have the money and all the things that go with that. Now, you can empower yourself to do all that, but it's not a process where making me this. So the whole idea is you can't do that. And this is where things get confusing because there's an interpretation by the faulty customer that anything can happen in terms of taking you from nothingness to everything. So, we're going to take you from 400 pounds, totally dysfunctioning person, down to the number 10 you want to be. Well, it doesn't work like that. So everything has to work through your life and you have to empower yourself of what you're doing. And hopefully this goes through a step. Now, I've changed my belief systems, the way I've operated from day one. But if you don't understand how the world works, if you don't appreciate good things of quality, if you don't understand how money works and how the entire money system is a fraud, money comes from nowhere, by the way. It's just made up. It is not backed by anything. Credit card money is completely fraudulent. You don't really have to pay those bills if you get yourself a good attorney because this is not real money. It's not backed by anything. It's a fraud. So the whole idea is that you have to understand what's going on, but you have to be able to take something that you understand and build it into something big that profits you. But you just can't invent something and become it. So you empower your life. Now, once you empower your life, hopefully you understand things and you try and reach higher goals. And if you're going to understand or prosper from financially, well, you've got to understand the financial industry. If you don't know the proper way to buy property, get loans, how to use money, well, then you're never going to get anywhere. And this is very typical of people that are in their 70s and 80s now that grew up in the 40s, is that they didn't, they were told you never go into debt, you never do this, you never do that. And the point is, if you do that, you'll never own anything. So you have to carefully go into debt. How can you pay something off and create assets quicker? All these things you have to understand. You don't buy furniture. You don't buy cars. You buy antiques that have value. You buy cars that go up in value, even if it costs you a lot more, even if they're junky cars. But the point is, after 5 or 10 years, they're still worth something. So this is looking at the world the way you need to look at the world to prosper in this kind of society. Now, by empowering yourself, you're going to empower yourself to find the answers. You're going to empower yourself to bump into what you need, read the articles, talk to somebody who informs you, and you have to be open to it all. So this is all the process works. While people want to win lottery, we all want to do that. It's not possible in most magical systems. We've looked at this for years, and it's very difficult unless you're going to be able to psychically get the numbers, remote view them, etc. And there has been success with this, but you're going to have to practice remote viewing every day and build your skills up. You have to pump that remote viewing muscle to do that. But is it possible? Well, apparently some people have done this. And of course, those that can do it, and they don't talk about it because it makes them a target. So, it's a complicated issue when you get into metaphysically empowering yourself, which is very different than going to school, meeting people. You get into cliques, they tell you stuff. This guy knows the stock market, he tells you where to invest. Well, this is what you get when you get involved with the people who are making money, is that success breeds success. But most people that I know of are not in that area. So without being in that area, you are then on the outside looking in, and you continually try and empower yourself to go against these problems and to succeed. But that's how things work. It's not the fact that you just manifest a pot of gold in front of you. You just can't take any stock or any investment and make it work. You can empower it. And you want to be directed to things that will work. This is the whole bigger part of success that people don't look at. You want to look at the fact of where's the direct flow from things. But that's not how things usually work. You got to look at, were you given good information? Did you find someone who in the future, maybe it'll take months or years, but because you now have this connection to information or guidance, that will make you a lot of money? Well, that's what you look at instead of saying, well, where's that stock that I'm going to buy for $10 and it's going to triple? So that's a straightforward way of looking at things, and certainly something that you incorporate in your bigger success plan, but you're looking for bigger opportunities. People are successful and wealthy because they get tips and are helped by others, not because they buy a stock at $5 and sell it at $1,000. This is rare. Now, of course, all of this happens, but we can't really bet on that as a way of looking at things. What you have to look at things is that is empowering yourself to draw. You want to meet people and so forth, which you ought to be doing generally for relationships, but you want to draw people to you that can help you in general. Just listening to this means you've been helped. How did you get here? Why are you listening to this? This is all part of the bigger process that people overlook. Well, that didn't put money in a pocket. It didn't? Well, if you follow what I tell you, it will put money in your pocket. Nobody has ever failed that has followed my systems properly. You will get success. Now, whether this success makes you a millionaire or it makes you another $1,000, well, we don't know. That depends on your life. What can you bring to you? What are you looking at and draw money from? People want to win money, and it really comes down to, and sad to say it with most people, is it comes down, I want to win the lottery. Well, so do I. And winning the lotto and picking those numbers has been a big con. And I'm not sure that anything in the lotto is real anyway. I believe the lotto is fixed, and that's the way it goes. Why do certain stores and everything else keep selling lotto tickets? Well, it's supposed to be random. How come certain stores are selling? Yeah, because they're giving kickbacks, and that's the way it goes. So everything is fixed and difficult. So If it's number based, well, how do you get numbers? Well, one of the problems with metaphysics is gaining numbers. This everybody tells you. It's very difficult to get numbers, specific numbers, because numbers are man-made. So it's one of those excuses for metaphysics that causes a whole problematic situation. But you can make yourself luckier. You can win more often. I do this all the time. Many other people do. But making you win doesn't seem to be something that you can count on. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but picking lottery numbers doesn't seem to be something that someone can do easily. Now, you're going to have to remote view that to say, what are the lottery numbers for that day? And while remote viewers claim they have 80, 90% success rates, don't tend to advertise they can do that. Certain organizations say they can, yet there's no proof that the money is there that they can do that. So it's all very interesting and fascinating when you get involved in all these things. And there is a hardcore of metaphysical people using their empowerments to make lots of money. And they're not necessarily that hidden, but they're also not standing on a street corner screaming to do this. So it is out there. There are ways of doing it. Like everything else, it's not going to sit there in front of you. If everybody could do it, it would have no value. Just think if everybody could remote view the lottery numbers. Well, there wouldn't be any lottery, would there? Well, of course not. So we got to understand that everything is the way it is for a particular reason. Some good or bad, some I agree with, somewhat I don't. But we have to understand the bigger picture here. And everything works through your life. You have to create, as I've always stated here, you have to create openings, channels for whatever you need to come to you. And it's not going to pop up in front of you. You expect to meet people, they're not going to knock on your front door. You expect to make money, well, you're not going to find a bucket of money in front of your front door again. You're going to have to open up channels of how things can come to you. So this is where everything gets a little bit complicated, but of course makes sense. So if you're going to live in a Disney World, if you're going to live in a movie land that things pop up in front of you, that you're going to rub a lamp, which is by the way, all that fake mythology that you think may even come from the Middle East was created by the French, who made up all these Aladdin lamp stories. These are not even part of traditional mythology. So if you think that's going to happen, it doesn't. There is none of that. There's no such thing. And if by some wide, amazing feat that it is happening and someone can do it, well, they're not going to tell you. Why would they? And why would somebody give you, an individual, a secret that would produce such high-level results? Well, I know what I would do if I had that. I certainly would set up charities and get money out to help people. I wouldn't give it to an individual who most likely going to use it for improper purposes, even if they claim they're going to help people with it. In the end, it's going to run into low-level manifestations of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And how would that help anybody? So the bottom line is that it doesn't work like that. There are no magic lamp technologies, and we all have to understand how things work. Follow the principles, follow the training system that I've offered, and your life will change into an amazingly successful life. But it's not about getting one book here. Oh, that book didn't work in the techniques. Did you do the training systems? Did you do all the different work you have to do? Are you centered? Are you doing psychic gym practices? Oh, no. Why aren't you? Do you have the cells to empower you? Do you have the scalars? It is an empowerment reality. If you go and expect to survive somewhere in the wilderness, you don't go out there buck naked. You have a backpack. You got special shoes, special clothing. You've got stoves. You've got tools. You've got to have all these things to be successful. You want to survive in that wilderness? If you go out there buck naked, you're dead. You go out there properly equipped to do it. Like everybody goes, whether they go to wilderness survival or life and survival. What do you need to survive in the cold, hard wilderness of life in general? Well, you're going to need all these tools. And that's what you need to get. If you don't do that, you will fail. It's as simple as that. Get out there, get the tools you need, support the organizations who are bringing you this fantastic Gnosis to change your life, and it will change. But you are part of the participatory factor in life. You're part of a little cog in the bigger wheel of success. If all these people don't work together, if you don't follow a tried and true system, you're not going to get anywhere. Oh, yeah, but this guy told me for $29.95 everything will happen. Go do it. You'll find out it's a fraud. You'll find out you could have just taken that money and used it to light cigarettes with. It's nonsense. Proven systems are there. It works. We are not researching. We are developing them to be better and better systems every day, and you can access that now. It's all there, and it's been around for 30 years in one form or another. Now we have a complete system, but it's there. And you have to work through it, and you get what you can afford, but you keep adding to it till you get the system. And you practice and apply it. You're not going to be in great shape if you don't go to the gym. And you can't go to the gym, go in the door, and say, oh, I looked at it, and then walk out. No, you have to go in there, and you have to pump the iron. And then once you do that, after many weeks or months, you start getting results. This is how it works, and there are no shortcuts. Now, we're all looking for shortcuts. What there are is better systems that work faster. So if you go by the old, particularly, and what turned me off to, Indian systems from India and Asian systems in general, it seems to be, well, in 10 years, grasshopper, you will be a great, great psychic and warrior. Well, I never liked that. I don't want to wait 10 years. So this is the problem they're doing. But what we've done is taken these 10-year programs and made them into 2 years. But you still have to practice and do it. That's the secrets to success. It's all there for you. All you have to do is access it. And the fact that we have been pigeonholed and while we're not known as much as everybody else, that just proves how good of the stuff we have. They don't want you to win, people. They want you to lose. They want to keep you down. They want to keep the brainwashed people going through their idiot dumbademia systems so that they make clones and slaves to them. Anybody else coming up is frowned upon and suppressed. And that includes most people who claim they're alternative, who kind of stay in a group of liars and deceitful people who are really controlled. You can't find a decent researcher out there. They're all liars. They're all ignorant people that are lost. And they are actually serving the other side where they claim out of one side of their mouth they're telling you the truth, while the other side of their mouth they're controlled 100%. So understand there's few, if any, other than myself. Get out there, follow the systems, apply it to your life, and you'll find out for yourself. Until next time.